Thank you, Tim. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me today. Yes, my name is Fleta. I'm the Managing Director of Little Green Pharma. And Little Green Pharma is all about transforming the lives of patients across the world. If we go to the corporate overview slide, I just want to talk to the shareholding a little bit. I would want to mention that Angus Caithness and myself, we're both executive directors of the company, and we own about 14% of the company between us. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is that so investors and shareholders can be really comfortable that we think like investors, we think like you. We're not just management, so we want the best of both worlds, the best for the patient, and we want the best for our investors. The company has no debt. We have cash reserves of 28.5 million as of March end, and the market cap is around the 120 mark at the moment. The business is continuing to grow. Onto our vision. LGP's vision is to do extraordinary things for our patients and to solve real patient problems. And this is our belief, it's our purpose, and it continues to be our strategy, and it's really entrenched within our organisation, and that's really important for what we deliver. Okay, moving on. So who are we? So we are Little Green Pharma, and we produce pharmaceutical-grade cannabis medicines to treat a wide variety of medical conditions. So we're strictly medicinal. We operate a vertically integrated business model. So this means we operate across the entire supply chain. So we cultivate our own cannabis plants, and we also manufacture them into final medicines. And we believe this is really advantageous because, particularly in a new and emerging industry, because we can see where the opportunities lie and where value can be created in each of these activities. So we think that's a huge benefit. We were Australia's first producer of cannabis medicines back in August 2018, and the first to export overseas. And we've now got patients across the globe benefiting from our medicines. I'm just going to go to the next slide and show you our cultivation facility. So as you can see, it's almost a hospital grade, although the nature is very hospital driven in that it's so sterile, it's very clean. And this has the capacity to produce about 3 tonnes of raw biomass every year, or 300,000 bottles of cannabis medicines. If we go and look at the manufacturing facility, this is GMP licensed by the TGA. And GMP is good manufacturing practice, and it's really essential license for us to have because we need to export to certain markets such as Germany, France, Poland, because it's EU recognised in Australia. So not many companies across the globe have this capability, so it's definitely a huge advantage. Okay, we have a very clear growth strategy to achieve our vision, and this is how we're going to grow. First of all, patient acquisition in Australia. So sales in Australia demonstrates market validity, particularly for those emerging markets overseas that we're targeting. And secondly, it generates immediate cash flow to support the development of our international pathways. The second point here, and the most important, is commercial sales volumes in overseas markets, because this is where we aim to make the profits in future. We continue to expand our distribution and sales network in these markets, and this is the type of announcement that you need to look out for from us, because to us, this is the real prize. Now, number 3, our end game, and the reason why we exist is innovative drug delivery technology. And this is what's going to solve real patient problems in the future. So the technology that we're working on at the moment aims to generate micron-sized particles of active ingredients. And this is intended to facilitate improved bioavailability into the human body. And we're looking forward to doing human trials soon. If we have a look at our track record of patient access, in total, we've sold more than 60,000 units of cannabis medicine now. Last quarter, we generated 2.46 million in revenue and finished the quarter with 28.5 million cash at bank. We estimate we have about 12,000 patients in Australia, and we think this is about 20% market share of the country. And it's the capturing of market share to us that is so important because of brand equity. We attribute some of this to our first mover advantage and our brand recognition, but also to our unique model of engaging physicians and making patient access easier across the country. And I'm going to demonstrate how. So in Australia, if we go to the next slide, we've entered in, there are a couple of things that we've done. One of them is we entered into a strategic partnership with the Health Insurance Fund of Australia. Now, what is so significant about this is that HIF is the first private health insurance fund to publicly support and rebate cannabis medicines in Australia. So this, I think, really sets the bench high for other funds to consider. But most importantly, it recognises that cannabis is now a mainstream medicine and it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. We also recently launched the Quest initiative with the University of Sydney. Now, Quest aims to be one of the world's largest longitudinal studies investigating the quality of life on patients that are suffering from chronic disease, and this is using LGP cannabis medicines. What is really special about this study is that it's ethics approved, but it connects the patients to doctors and it offers discounted medicines. So this study will be run for a minimum of 2 years and it has the potential to be extended internationally, and that's what's exciting for us because that's what's on the horizon. And currently we have about 800 patients in the study just in the last couple of months. Okay, next slide. This is really important, this one, because we continue to make rounds in our distribution networks in overseas markets to reach that target of commercial sales volumes that I was just speaking of. So remembering that this is the prize for us here. So in Poland, yesterday, we signed an exclusive distribution agreement with Medicine, which is a subsidiary of the largest operator in Poland and Lithuania. And they're aiming to sell LGP medicines to 20% of the market for our cannabis oils and about 10% of the market for our flower medicines. In France, where LGP was one of only 4 global companies selected as a primary supplier for a French medicinal cannabis trial, and that's for up to 3,000 patients. And we've already sent 7,000 units or bottles of our cannabis medicine to France for that trial. So that's currently the biggest study perhaps happening in Europe, so it's important, and LGP medicine is the most frequently prescribed product at the moment. Now, this whole French medicinal trial is really significant for us because it goes with our first mover advantage and brand equity that we believe is so important for the future. But also, this trial is likely to be the catalyst in changing legislation, and that market could be worth up to 4 billion. Germany, I'll just touch on briefly, but one of our distribution partners, Demican, provided us with firm purchase orders totaling about 5.7 million this calendar year alone. So that's about 47,000 units that we're sending there. So, and this, well, annualized, represented on an annualized run rate is about 10 million per annum, and that's just for the one distributor. This is really meaningful for the company because, one, it represents evidence, I guess, of the success of our strategy for our export markets, but also reflects the demand that's coming out of Germany and the confidence that our partners overseas have in LGP supply and the quality that we're producing. Okay, we're going to go on to market opportunity and in particular, the next slide is a total addressable market. And so you need to get a really good understanding of the market opportunity to appreciate where LGP is headed. So Canaccord Genuity estimates LGP's existing markets, it's about the $24 billion mark at maturity. So I guess the point that I'm trying to get across here is that if we can capture market share overseas due to our first mover advantage and that brand equity that I've been speaking about, just like we've done in Australia, then we'll really be delivering on our targets. So this is exciting, and these are the types of announcements that investors should look out for. Now, finally, onto our final slide. We're really fortunate in this business because we solve many ESG challenges through our core business activities. And there are 6 dimensions of impact that we look at, and that we're really strong in several of these, especially the lifetime wellbeing area. So, and this is what we do. You know, we transform lives. Our core business is improving quality of life. Our operations are in regional Western Australia, so we provide employment and skills training for over 60 people in the southwest community and also in Perth. We proudly employ nearly 60% females, and the age of our employees range from 21 to 73. On the environmental front, we don't use pesticides or other nasties, and we've switched from HPS to LED lighting, so that's important. However, what we need to understand is that we're young, the industry is new, so we're all still learning to optimize our operational efficiencies, but we do aim to continue exploring renewable power, particularly as we expand our operations to cater for the growing demand. So finally, just on the summary points there, why invest in LGP? This is what you need to be left with. We've constantly demonstrated our cost consciousness and run a really lean business model. 2, the market opportunity available to us and our pathway to capture that market share is really real. 3, the confidence in LGP products demonstrated by our partners. 4, capacity to deliver through our vertically integrated business model. And 5, our track record of execution. Whenever we say we're going to do something, we do it. So thank you so much for your time today. There is a next slide there with my email. If you would like to contact me, feel free. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love nothing more than for you to welcome you to the Little Green family. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Fleta. I've got some questions here. Now, you've recently announced some agreements with major distributors in Germany and Poland. How hard is it to get your product into Europe?
Yes, great question. Look, it's so much harder than what we initially thought. Germany alone, I think it took sort of a good 2 years to get in there. And I guess it depends who you're working with in Germany, but and a lot of these countries are the same. France is similar, and the same as Poland. But it's not as easy as just saying, look, we've got an MRA, you know, it's EU recognised, we can ship it straight away. It just doesn't happen. They have a quality team that need to sign off, and they need to audit our facilities, where the raw material is coming from. When you have the medicine, whether it's flour or oil, it has to be within 10% of what the label claim is. And that's really difficult when you're talking about a botanical or a plant. So it is difficult, but it's manageable, but it just takes time. So we're very fortunate that we've achieved that in Germany, and we know what's ahead of us in terms of the other markets like Poland.
And you've set up a facility in Western Australia. You've got a lot of cash in the bank. Could you set up a similar facility in Europe?
Look, we're always looking. We're at the point now where, thanks to Demican, our flower capability in our existing facility is pretty much full. So we now need to look to the next stage of our life cycle, which is how do we expand and where do we expand? So we have bought the adjacent properties at our cultivation facility, and we're looking forward to expanding our operations so we can cater for that demand.
And do Australian companies have an advantage from a kind of branding perspective in Europe due to the GMP status?
Oh, look, Australian-made products, they're always well regarded. So I think it's a huge advantage for our country. And the fact that our manufacturing practices are recognised by the EU as being compliant, so that's great. So definitely, I think it's a huge advantage. And the fact that we're one of the few countries in the world that can actually export is also a huge advantage for this industry.
And do you learn a lot when dealing with a country like Germany, and does that help you when dealing with other countries in Europe?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think if you had to have a scale of where countries sit, Germany is at the highest end. They're so strictly and regulated, more so than Australia. So to us, it was an amazing learning curve, because now that we've done that and got into Germany, I feel that we've got everything that's required to get into any other country. We might be surprised and find when a new jurisdiction opens that they're more strict or stricter, but we'll come across that hurdle once we get to it. But you're always learning in this industry. There's so much ahead of us that we just don't know.
And the product range you've got, do you see competitors coming into this space?
Oh, look, definitely, yes, of course. I think it is still such a popular industry. I do feel strongly that brand equity is really important in those first few companies that get into the market. I feel strongly for that, and that's why we're pushing so hard into international markets, because as those markets open up, we get to have a good foothold in there, and we have a very long-term business strategy. But I think you'll find there'll be some consolidation that will continue. It's sort of, I guess it's starting to happen. It will continue as all the companies kind of come together, so that there are just fewer brands. But we've still got a few years to sort out all the different products that are now available.